I always loved toys. Like when I was a kid, I played with toys a lot. I didn't have a lot. We weren't poor, but just didn't get a lot of stuff. Parents didn't spoil me. Um, but there was always stuff that I wanted and I didn't get, and just growing up through the years, tried to see, no, you don't play with that anymore. Like, can I have it? I'll buy it off you. This. So I was always kind of eyeing up expanding my collection. Um, then you grow up, in college, graduate. I was teaching, taught for 10 years. Put all that to the side. And when I left teaching, um, I tried some other jobs, didn't work out, but I went back to what I loved. You turn around, you go through your attic, of your childhood home, like you find your toys, and then you're like, oh, okay, all right, I like this. You feel it kind of inspires you, right? So I went on Craigslist. I'd buy comic book collections, Star Wars collections, and just flip it. Just try selling on eBay or whatever. eBay turns into toy shows. Uh, then you start dabbling. Do I want to get into a store? A brick and mortar. Tried it. It was okay. It wasn't the right time for me. Um, Went back to just selling on eBay and doing toy shows. Tried some other things, responsible jobs, and it wasn't my thing. I always came back to this, to toys, to nostalgia. I think everyone kind of looks back at their past, and they get a sense of, I don't know, there's something inside, what it drums up some emotion. Um, so that's the feeling I get when I see the old stuff, and connecting people with those items that they had in their childhood or didn't have. People come in here and they're like, oh wow, check this out, it's a Michael Jackson doll, and they're like, you see it, you feel good inside knowing that you could connect someone with their childhood. um, so it's I felt more complete in doing this. It was a leap. How do you go from teaching to selling toys? I was a history teacher. This old stuff, this is history. It's going back to the past, and acknowledging it, appreciating it. And that's really all this is. It brings you back to to a time when less responsibilities. Just when we were kids, just having fun, carefree. It was it was a safer time. It's the escape, 100%. It's the escape. The escape from reality. That's what I was saying there. That we were carefree. So you had these realms that you traveled to with these figures. Outer space, different dimensions. It's funny you said that, because that was a good connection, because some people just see this stuff as junk, but as a child, it brought you places. Imagination is incredible. It's a wonderful thing, and some people say that kids today are kind of lacking in that because everything's given to them. We had to imagine a lot of that stuff. Kids just jump on an iPad and they see that other world, that other dimension. We had to think of it in our head, and it's the greatest thing when you're out, like people watching. You go out and you just see a kid being themselves, right? They tune everything else out, right? And they're jumping around, they're flying around like a spaceship. It's that stuff, and that's where the toys, they bring us back to that happy place. Because even now, any grown man that collects toys, If they tell you they're not imagining some epic battle in space, they're lying. They're lying to you, right? You're laughing. You do it.
No,
we all do it. We all do it. It brings you peace, right? And that's what spirituality does. I mean, if you want to compare the two, it brings you happiness, and just like I said, looking back to a time, I think back, I see Panthro here, and I think back to the 80s, and just putting yourself back in that time period. Not that now so bad, family expands and everything. Not that you want to go live in the past, but it brings you back to a time where, family might have been closer. You still have relatives that have now passed. Just that family unity, and you think back to that time, and it brings you back. 100% it does. Wow. I mean, I was always big into Star Wars. Always. And I mean, figure-wise, this little guy right here, R2-D2. I mean, this was, it's so simple, so basic, and that was, he doesn't do much, but that was, he was on every single adventure with you. You made all the beeps and boops, and it's so simple and basic. But honestly, even the catalog that came with some of your Star Wars figures, came inside the vehicles. I could look at this thing for hours, right? And it reminds you. You see all the toys inside. It's even something as simple as that. These I love. I got a stash of these. Don't ask me why. You only need one. I don't need 30 of them, but it represents childhood, because I would just sit and look at that, like the old Sears catalogs around Christmas time, right around the holidays. You just flip through and they'd have that big He-Man spread, all the figures and castles, and you just sit there, and you imagine yourself then. You imagine yourself playing with toys you didn't even have. You weren't holding your hand. You just stared at those pages and wondered what it'd be like to have those toys. Yeah. And what you could do with it is you put it on your wall, right? And you look at it every now and then. And it even though the hunt for it, you drove yourself, right, to go out, work hard, right, save some money, purchase that item, and now you have it, right? So you achieve that goal, but now you could look at that and be like, yeah, I achieved that. I wanted that, I got it. And then you look back and you're like, yeah, it makes you appreciate the journey there to get it. And but it could also, like we said before, it reminds you of a simpler time. It makes you feel good. Just I look over it, I see Jabba's palace over there. I see, Castle Grayskull, and just you put yourself back. It's ease your mind a little bit. Collect what you love. That's where you start with. Don't worry about what everyone else has or what everyone else is collecting. If you're into a brand of toys that no one collected, if that's what you're happy with, that's what you collect. Financially, don't be irresponsible. Don't purchase things outside of your means. Buy loose or buy, well played with toys first. Build yourself up. You could always replace them. You upgrade. If you want a mint on card or mint in package, then you go out and get those eventually. But no one should be held back if that's what you like. We're in a different time where collecting is more mainstream. A lot of people used to have to hide it. Grown men buying toys was, it kind of credit the Big Bang Theory. As popular as that show was, it kind of made, all this geekdom. It made it cool. It made it acceptable. People could talk about it. Maybe it's not conversation in certain places still, but it's it's a lot of people collect, and we know it now. People used to hide it in their basements, and now it's out there. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, TikTok. People are showing off their collections. Going back to your question, yes, start with what you love, and then maybe expand. It could be something you had, something you wanted. Start there, and don't feel ashamed, and but stay within your means. Don't bankrupt yourself or your family.
Peace, family. Looking to take your brand, artistry, or business to the next level? At V2G Multimedia, we specialize in creating digital biographies, stunning, interactive PDF flipbooks designed to showcase your story, services, or products in a professional and unforgettable way. But that's not all. When you work with us, your biography gets a permanent feature on our affiliate platform, the Biosphere, where it gains ongoing visibility as our community continues to grow. Ready to elevate your presence and connect with a broader audience? Visit v2gmultimedia.com for updates and consultations on how we can bring your story to life. Now, back to the video.
Yeah, if you have an opportunity to get something, get it. If the price is right for you, if you could afford it, get it. I know a lot of it is the thrill of the hunt, but if you have an opportunity to buy, a large chunk of that collection, I would say do it. If you could afford it, you have the means to do it, then do it. Obviously you should budget yourself. A lot of people do. They give themselves an allowance, monthly, weekly, whatever. But sometimes if an opportunity arises, and you could get it all in one shot, it might save you money in the long run as well. Getting it in bulk is sometimes cheaper. So, but I definitely stress being responsible in your collecting. To me, it's a good question. I prefer loose. There's some pieces where the box art looks really good, and then that's a whole other level of collecting. But having a piece, there is something to having a toy that no one played with. You're the first one, right? If you choose to open up that sealed toy, that's up to you. It's that's buyer's discretion there. Some people rip it away. I had someone buy some GoBots, and from '84, the bubble was yellow. It was mint on card. The card was beautiful. Handed me money, and he ripped it open right in front of me. No hesitation. Just ripped it open. That was on him. He bought it. He paid. He could do whatever he wants with it. He ripped it right off the card, and he appreciated the toy. He's like, his first words were, "Wow, this is beautiful." So, it's how you choose it. For me, I prefer loose. I don't want to see it trapped inside, a bubble. Deserves to be out. Deserves to be played with. It's kind of like Toy Story, right? I know you were thinking it. I was thinking it. It just reminds you of Toy Story. Right? The toys will want to be played with. No. And if you're a kid that only had a few toys a year, right? If for me it was Christmas, birthday, and then maybe something here and there in between. It wasn't a lot, and so yeah, your Darth Vader was playing with your GI Joes, right? And your Transformers. They were in the same world. They were in the same universe. Right. I mean, and that's tough because you want kids to be kids. Toys were meant to be played with. Um, but also, I mean, yeah, you have to teach that everything has a value and not everything is replaceable. Or, yes, there might be five other Panthros on the shelf, um, but you might not have the money to replace it, right? So I think there's more a level of respect or responsibility to the value. I mean, it's hypocritical to say because how many of our GI Joes suffer the fate of fireworks or whatever. So but we didn't know then. It's I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough call, right? But also, I mean, I gotta say that's a reason why the toys have become valuable. The older toys, because we did play with them. We did, you know, throw them up in the air and see if they could fly or whatever. Put them in the street, see if how bad it could get destroyed with a car running over it. Right? We did stupid stuff like that. So if we didn't, the toys probably wouldn't be as valuable. If everyone in the last store that I had it was next to a coffee shop, and old men would come in and be like, oh, when I went off to college or when I went off to war, my mom threw out all my Superman comic books. I'd be a millionaire. I'd be like, no, you wouldn't, because if every mom held on to those comic books, when you went off to school or whatever, they wouldn't be worth as much. So I mean, there is the value now because of what we did to them. Perfect example is Star Wars figures from the 90s. Everyone kept them carded. All those Power of the Force figures. Right? They thought they were going to send their kids to college on those things. And didn't happen because everyone did it. Everyone kept them on the card. They bought cases of them. And, they're worth maybe $5-10 a piece now carded. So that's the example of, just because it's old doesn't mean there's value to it. If everyone keeps them in perfect condition, everyone still has them in perfect condition. There's no want for it. Not so much a problem in the industry right now in the community, but there's definitely, like now with modern toys, there is the I need to have it first factor. And people, you have the scalpers running into the Targets and the Walmarts and grabbing what they can when an item's first released, and selling it back for selling it to a collector for double the value. Collectors have created that problem. They were willing to pay more than what it was worth. So yeah, that's definitely an issue right now. We're the value isn't really there. I think toys are overpriced to begin with in the retail market, the modern retail market. There's too many scalpers. There's too many people, just flipping, like a quick flip, make a couple bucks. And the collectors are paying into it, and I think if they, you see it now with Pokemon, it shows up on everyone's Instagram and stuff like that, just guys that have no interest in it, ransacking shelves, to get these boxes, and it's sad actually, because we keep forgetting a lot of this stuff is meant for toys. There are adult collector toys. but I think in general, I think we've priced kids out of, or families out of, a lot of these toys at $25-$30 a pop for some of these figures. But then, because adults are also collecting them, and that's what the companies are. I mean, let's be honest, they know it, and the adults are the ones with the money, so they they are pricing it up, and then you have the scalpers go in and buying it up and selling it for more. 3, yikes. I mean, obviously Biggie's up there.
Okay, Biggie.
Wu-Tang, I mean, they were ahead of their time, and like you said, but they were very into referencing pop culture and nostalgia. Run DMC. I like I said, it probably Wu-Tang, because that was I think they were very much influenced. I mean, there's a lot of reference to pop culture. Star Wars is mentioned a lot in comic books are referenced a lot in general. But I think Wu-Tang definitely was. I mean, just in the style, the name, everything about it. Yeah, I would say if I had to invest in a group to produce some toys, yeah, it'd probably be the Wu-Tang Clan. Probably still a little bit of a stigma attached to collecting. People think it's like, some overweight guy living in a basement, playing with his Star Wars figures. There's probably still some of that. But I do think it's more widely accepted now. You will have people that think it's a waste of money, that don't see. I mean, the thing with collecting toys is, if you need to, you could always sell them, right? I mean, you in this case, you can sell your memories. If you go on vacation to a beach or whatever, you can't sell that, right? If collecting makes you feel good, if that's what brings you happiness, you could always, maybe break even, maybe lose a little bit of money, but you could get some money back from it. So I don't think it's a bad thing to do. Again, as long as you stay within your means. I don't think there's a lot of stigma attached to collecting anymore, though. I think it's widely accepted. I think it's an appreciation of the past. Like we were saying before, a lot of people do it for the money. Yeah, and people are watching this and be like, well, you do it for the money. Yes, I am doing it to make a living, but there's a respect for what came before us, for the items, connecting someone with their past, their childhood. You have to love what you do, and I love being surrounded by toys. I love dealing with toys. I love the look on people's faces when they see something that they haven't seen in 20, 30, 40 years. A mother came in with her son, and I don't think she realized that she was going to be more excited than the child was. This child was looking for a couple video games, and then she's seeing Saved by the Bell dolls and Fat Albert Lunchbox, just things that brought back memories for her. And that's why I do it. I have an appreciation for the stuff. I love history, and I feel like this is a part of it. Yeah, I don't like when people just do it for the money, like we were saying, running to Target and buying something. I mean, there's no skill or knowledge in that, I'm sorry if I offend anyone with that, but I'm not sorry either. It's you have to love this stuff. There's an appreciation for it if you don't appreciate it. you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. Just hoping that I brought some happiness to people, not necessarily me, but through the products I offer. With my eye, I have to go out and find the stuff, and I hope that what catches my eye catches someone else's eye, and brings them some joy, some happiness, be it in the moment, or to put on a shelf, and when they're feeling stressed, they have a rough day at work, they go and sit down in their den or wherever they have their collection, and just kind of think back, and yeah, like you said, a little bit of therapy, a little kind of therapeutic moment. I mean, if you walk into the shop, I'm going to greet you, and I'm going to leave you alone for a little bit. I'm going to let you take it all in. And we've all been to those stores in the mall where the second you step foot, you still have one foot in the hallway. The second you step foot in the store, hey, how can I help you? What are you looking for? And you're just like, hang on, back off a second. Let me relax. Let me take it all in first. And then I worked for a furniture company that wanted you to do that. The second people walked through the door, they wanted you to get up and so I would do it. I was only there for a week, so it didn't last long. My values were different than theirs. I would follow them into the showroom. I'd be like, listen, my boss wants me to be on top of you. That's not my style. Go look. You have questions, I'm here. And that's my approach in this store. Okay, walk in, I'm not all over you, right? I'll greet you, I'll let you look around, I'll ask you if I can help you with anything, if you're looking for something specific, and then eventually we end up having just regular conversation. I mean, you've experienced it. I mean, that's some people want to talk, some people don't, and that's fine. Someone wants to complain about or talk about whatever new Star Wars movie's out or show or whatever, I'm here for it. As long as it's not super busy, we could have a chat, and that's, I don't know. I think people appreciate that. I'm definitely not the kind of guy that's, I'm not gonna. You have to be approachable. You have to be open a little bit. You can't just sit back here, arms folded and grunting or whatever. This is you're here for people, and ultimately, if I'm not friendly, if I have a bad disposition or whatever, they're not going to come back. And not to say that I'm doing it so people do come back, but I mean, that's just me. I mean, if you're not a people person and you're doing this, you're probably in the wrong business. And that goes for a lot of jobs. If you're not a people person, find something else. I don't think I have anything coming up. I mean, it is, we are coming up on 1 year in this location. So, don't know the date exact. It's the end of the month. So maybe I have a little sale getting cooked up. A little discount, a little appreciation. I mean, especially if you're a regular, I already appreciate you. But yeah, I might have a little something cooked up for the regulars and the not so regulars.